This video is sponsored by Notion. What is going on, everyone? My name is Jason, and this is the Pixel 6 Pro 3 months later. Okay, so it's been about 3 months with what will likely go down as one of the most hyped phones of 2021, the newly revived Google Pixel 6 Pro. Now, there was so much initial anticipation going into the launch of this device. I kind of felt bad for Google. I thought it was in a tough position because expectations were super high for both the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. And I have to say, after finally getting the 6 Pro in my hands and using it for the first few weeks, in my opinion, it delivered on a lot, which honestly is quite impressive. Everything from the design to its performance, initial first impressions were super positive across the board. But now that people have been using the phone for an extended period of time, more and more feedback is starting to come in that folks are experiencing some issues with this phone, which may indicate that the honeymoon phase with the Pixel 6 Pro is officially over. So today I want to go over how my personal experience has been with this phone over the past 3 months, focusing on what's going well, in addition to some of the issues I've been having, all in an effort to help you be as informed as possible when it comes to Google's latest flagship device. Now, before we get into the review, in case you're new here, I'm Jason. I would really appreciate it if you take a quick second to press that thumbs up button. It really does help out solo creators like myself get a little bit more traction on their videos, so please help a brother out. And in case you're a tech junkie like me, I make a video like this every single week, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future reviews. And real quick, before I get into this, if you own either the Pixel 6 or the 6 Pro, let me know in the comments if you've experienced any issues. Curious to get your thoughts, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. And for quick reference on this video, I did download the January update that Google pushed out recently. I know a lot of folks were waiting on it, so everything I'm talking about here represents my experience after the most recent software update. Okay, the first thing about the Pixel 6 Pro that has really held up in a good way over time has been the phone's design. Google completely overhauled the form factor with this phone, using more high-end build materials, and just being a lot riskier when it comes to aesthetics. And 3 months later, I still absolutely love this aspect of the phone. I still think it's one of the most unique looking devices available today, mainly because of this ledge-like design it has for the camera housing. And I initially worried that this would bug me as I use the phone more and more often, but I have to say it's aged well over time. It gives the phone a more mature look, and when paired with all the other premium components, it really deserves to be in the category of top-end luxury when it comes to smartphone design. The phone has also physically held up really well. The Gorilla Glass Victus on both the front and back are pristine, no weird accumulation of dust or grit on the protruding camera ledge, and the metal alloy frame is still rock solid. Now, I think the main component of the Pixel 6 Pro that makes it an absolute stunner is the display. It's gorgeous, and because of its massive size and minuscule bezels, it's an absolute joy to use when it comes to consuming content. Now, before we get into the issues that I've been having with the Pixel 6 Pro, I want to take a quick second to give a big shout out to today's video sponsor, Notion. So low-key, one of the hardest things for me being a creator on YouTube is simply being organized. For a long time, I would just think of all these video ideas in my head and immediately forget them. I would constantly lose track of deadlines that I have to meet. I'd be having conversations with people on 4 different platforms at once. It was an absolute mess. Finally, my manager one day was like, Jason, dude, trust me on this one, you gotta check out Notion. Notion is one of the most popular project management productivity apps that has completely streamlined how I manage my YouTube channel. Now, the first reason why I'm a huge fan of Notion is how simple it is to use. The first page I set up is my landing page where I mapped out my 2022 goals and actions for JSL review. I just made a page with a simple separation between the two, and it's crazy how much more intentional I was about my goals when I actually just have a place to jot them down. Notion also has a ton of different templates that they make available based on the type of work that you're trying to get done. They have this really great marketing template called Content Calendar that worked perfectly for what I needed. It immediately helped me organize the videos that are in completion, the ones that are in work, or just in the idea stage. And all of this could be organized in one very clean, easy to navigate view. For each project, you can punch in and put in the additional details, such as when the video is slated to get posted, if it's going to be a sponsored video, and when it needs to be reviewed by. And I could also upload assets like thumbnails and scripts. I also added a really useful status table for each project, which helps me keep track and manage all of my key actions. Like, did I get the thumbnail done? Is the script complete? Is the edit in work? Things like that will help me make sure that I'm making progress on every video. I can also keep a running list of all the content ideas that I have on here as well under the ideas category. And not only can I keep tabs on them, I can quickly turn them into formal JSL review projects by just updating the status from idea to project in work. It's seriously that simple. And the other thing that I love about Notion is that it is a collaboration tool, so my manager and I share a page together where we keep track of all the partnerships that we have going on at any given moment. She puts all the needed information into one integrated table where we can both status and update live, and this has made getting things done significantly better. And the last thing about Notion that makes it truly awesome is that you can start using it right now for free. You can download the app to your computer and to all your mobile devices. And though I do have the more advanced Personal Pro account that's like $5 a month, the free personal version is surprisingly robust and feature-rich. If being organized isn't your forte like me, trust me, do yourself a favor and download Notion today. You'll be shocked at how quickly your life starts to get in order. Okay, back to the display on the Pixel 6 Pro. As great as it looks, it's also the area in which I started noticing some issues. Much like most flagships today, this panel supports up to 120Hz variable refresh rate, and it's something I was super psyched about as this does make a huge difference when it comes to the user experience. That said, the high refresh rate has been a bit janky for me on the Pixel 6 Pro. Now, I don't want to make it come off like this is a devastating issue because, truth be told, I do get 120Hz off this display in many instances. It's just not as consistent as I'd like it to be. Now, majority, if not all high refresh rate displays on smartphones have a variable refresh rate, which means that it fluctuates anywhere between 10 to 120Hz automatically based on need. And what I've noticed is that the Pixel 6 Pro more regularly throws you off the 120Hz than, say, like the Galaxy S21 Ultra or the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And what's weird about it for me is that it seems to be more noticeable on certain apps. Like Twitter for me is just super jittery compared to most of the other apps that I use regularly. It's gonna be a little bit hard to capture on camera, but there's this stutter that happens every time I scroll, and it feels like it's perpetually stuck at 60 Hz. I mean, compare that to the way Instagram works. You can see that it's way smoother and it's pretty noticeable. I'm also noticing that a lot of apps when you first open them up tend to start off at a very noticeable lower refresh rate and then ramp up to higher ones as you scroll along. Again, it's not the biggest deal, but this does bring back some bad memories of the Pixel 4 XL. If you all remember, that was the first Pixel with the 90Hz refresh rate display, and it throttled all the time, making it basically a pointless feature. Again, not nearly as bad as that situation, but the quality around implementation of high refresh rate displays is something that I think Google needs to work on. Now, unfortunately, my issues with the display don't end there. One of the more common issues people tend to be having with the Pixel 6 Pro is the auto brightness setting. I'm not sure if the sensors are off or it has something to do with the software, but it has a difficult time adjusting the screen brightness, and it goes both ways. It can stay stubbornly dark in really well lit areas. This happens to me all the time when I'm filming under the studio lights, and other times when I'm using the phone in a pitch black room, the screen is searingly bright. I was hoping that this would be something that would have gotten fixed with the software update, and again, it's not like this is happening all the time, so it's not unbearable, but I think this may contribute to some battery life issues that I've been having. Take that as foreshadow because I am going to get into that later. But the last thing about the display that's probably been the most noticeable pain to everyone who's used the phone is the in-display fingerprint reader. If you're familiar with the Pixel 6 at all, you know that it's slow, and even though it's gotten a tad bit faster with the software update, I wish there was more of a difference. One thing I noticed is that the longer and harder you actually press in the in-display sensor, the slower it seems to be. If you tap and let go at the right time, it does authenticate faster, but you do have to time it right. Too little of a tap and you're going nowhere. And this to me really underscores again that Google needs to button up a little bit more when it comes to things like first pass quality. Now, before I come off like I'm ripping the Pixel 6 Pro apart, let me circle back on something about the phone that has really held up really well over the past 3 months, and that's their cameras. The Pixel continues to pump out some of the best still images available on any smartphone to date, and to me, it's still the main draw to why people should go to a Pixel. Google's image processing formula is well liked by virtually all, with that signature sharp contrasty look. I really think the Pixel is the best if you want a camera system in which you'll almost never have to do any adjustment to your images. The pictures come out looking professionally edited, and they're really beautiful to look at. Plus, it's great finally having 3 dedicated cameras on the rear like all the other flagships out there, and the Pixel still very much is a force to be reckoned with in this arena. Now, something that I've noticed since getting my hands on the Pixel 6 Pro is that the camera app is actually where I've been experiencing the most bugs. It would do this thing where it would go completely white when switching between the different cameras. The software update seems to have fixed this issue, which is great, and I haven't had any noticeable glitches while using the camera since. Now, the last area that I want to touch on in terms of how my user experience has been with the Pixel 6 Pro is battery life. This phone is rocking a pretty beefy 5000 mAh battery, so I was expecting it to comfortably last me a full day of heavy usage, especially because I thought that even more efficiency would be gained with the implementation of Google's in-house Tensor chip. That said, I've been averaging around 5, maybe 5.5 hours of screen on time with this phone, which, look, it's not terrible for today's standards, but dude, it's pretty underwhelming considering the spec sheet here. I mentioned before that it could be due in part with some of the bugs that Android 12 has been struggling with. And I should disclose that the other phone that I've been using primarily is the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is hands down the battery king, so it could be exaggerating the discrepancy here a bit. But yeah, I'm sad to say that the battery life on this guy is kind of disappointing. I was hoping that it would be able to provide around 1.5 to 2 days worth of battery with moderate usage, but that's just not happening and I don't think it ever will. Now, does that and everything else I talked about ultimately make me feel as though the Pixel 6 Pro is a flop or completely falling apart? No, not at all actually. In fact, I personally still love using this phone. It's a lot of fun and it still does a lot of things really well. And even with these bugs that honestly I think are more software related, there's a chance that Google can iron them out with future software updates, and none of them are so bad where they make the phone unusable. Now I'm gonna have to see how my user experience with the Pixel 6 Pro progresses over time. Hopefully nothing else comes up and Google is able to make Android 12 a little bit more stable, but I'm still super optimistic around the direction the Pixel is going generally speaking, and I'm super excited to see what else Google brings to the table later this year. But hey, that's just me and I wanna know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the Pixel 6 Pro? Do you think it's plagued with problems? Or do you think all of this is overblown? Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. Okay, that's about it for this review. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you guys found it useful. Again, I'd really appreciate it. Check out these other reviews if you're looking for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.